Hi, I'm Andy Jones, content editor for Plaid's online education program, Let's Paint. And I'd like to welcome you to our Friday YouTube live stream. And we are talking about some painting basics today. And I want to let you know that we have one of our favorite products, Mod Podge, that we're going to be using today to show you a really interesting background technique that you can use. And the paintings that I'm going to show you today were all painted with the colors used in our Let's Paint Live kit, which is available at Amazon.com. And you can find it there. It's a great kit with all sorts of beautiful colors in it, perfect for just about any subject matter you want to paint. But we're going to switch quickly to our overhead view. So I'm going to show you this particular background technique gives you this wonderful texture on top of a canvas. And this is a winter scene, which is part of the Let's Paint FolkArt Studio Lessons series. So you can find that video right here on YouTube. And another great video that is part of that series is our Spring Meadow. And we have another video that you can find on the Plaid Crafts YouTube channel. You just need to type in Spring Meadow and you'll find a video lesson on how to paint this particular landscape. But it's not only good for landscapes. I've showed you two little landscape paintings and I want to show you a big floral painting. So here's another floral painting and you can easily see all of this great texture in the background. And this really does add a lot of interest and drama to a painting. So I'm going to show you how easy it is to create this texture on your canvas using the Mod Podge. All right, so I am using the matte Mod Podge and I have a small 2-ounce bottle here. It's also available in a 16-ounce, an 8-ounce, a 32-ounce.
All the way up to a gallon, Andy.
There's a ton of Mod Podge, and the matte is the best formula for this particular technique. You'll also need a chip brush or a large flat brush, and this is going to sound strange, but the cheapest, least expensive, lowest quality gift wrap tissue that you can find. Do not buy good tissue for this. It doesn't help you at all, and in fact, the cheaper, the better. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by wadding up our tissue into a nice little ball. And for those of you who save holiday gift wrap and tissue from year to year to year, you can go find one of your older, more well-loved pieces of tissue and use that. So I'm going to stretch my cheap tissue out. Now, Emily Schmidt is here in studio with me. So Emily, are you a gift wrap saver?
I'm a bag saver. So if I ever get a gift bag from a birthday party or a Christmas event or, you know, I guess whether it's for my son or for myself, I definitely save the bags. As far as for the tissue paper or the gift like wrapping paper itself, probably not. I might save a few bows, but this might be a good way for me to save those
Well, you
tissues.
don't need to add to the saving. I am not a gift wrap saver, but my aunt is a gift wrap saver. She'll try to open that package and smooth that gift wrap out. And I don't know that she ever reuses it, but she believes in saving it. All right, so I've wadded it up again. So this is 2 waddings of the tissue. And then we're going to unwrap it, not unwrap it, unfold it or unwrinkle it, smooth it out, however you want to say that. But I want to make sure that when I have unrumpled this, that it is bigger than my canvas. All right, so there we go. Next, that step taken care of, I am going to apply my matte Mod Podge to the surface of my canvas. I'm going to put a big squirt out there and then take my chip brush and brush this on all over the surface of the canvas. Now, your pro tip here is to start in the middle and work the Mod Podge out toward the edges of the canvas. This does a couple of things. It helps you cover the entire canvas, but it also makes the edges the last thing you paint so that they are always wet. So just brush that Mod Podge all the way out to the edge. If you're having to struggle to spread your Mod Podge out, you don't have enough Mod Podge on your canvas, go ahead and squirt a little bit more. You want a very generous coat of Mod Podge on the surface. Don't try to be stingy with this, but also don't go overboard. You don't need it. You don't need an ocean of Mod Podge. You just need a real
No puddles.
no puddles. Just a good, generous coat of Mod Podge all over the surface of the canvas. I don't worry about the edges because the canvas that I'm working on is the one that should be framed when it's finished. So our Mod Podge is wet. I am going to take my cheap wrinkled gift wrap tissue and I am going to allow a little bit of it to hang over the edges of the canvas, and then I'm going to start in the center of the canvas and smooth the wrinkled tissue out. Now, you don't want gigantic wrinkles and creases in this tissue. You just want it to be nicely, I was checking on the monitor and it looks beautifully wrinkled on the monitor. So this is what you want at this point. Now, word to the wise, your cheap gift wrap tissue is absorbing that wet Mod Podge and it will become pulpy if you're not careful. So gently do this next step or you're going to tear and shred your tissue. I'm going to drizzle out a little bit more Mod Podge onto the surface. And I still have my 1-inch chip brush that's good to go. And I'm going to start in the center and using sweeping strokes, go back and forth over the tissue. You want to do this while it's still wet. And this will glue down the Mod Podge firmly to the canvas and it will help seal any little wrinkly flaps down. This is just giving you a really good encasement of the tissue. So Mod Podge under it and Mod Podge over it.
So Andy, was there a particular reason why you chose to use the matte formula versus another Mod Podge formula?
Yes, and I will explain that in just a second.
I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm so sorry,
No,
Andy.
no need to apologize. It's a perfectly good question, and was a great time to ask it. The answer makes more sense in just a second. All right, so I am making sure that all of these little wrinkles and crinkles are well adhered to the surface. Now, we are going to do the worst thing that you can ask someone to do. We're going to wait overnight. What we're going to do is let this dry completely, and then I can either cut or tear the excess tissue away from the canvas. And my Mod Podge will dry, and the matte Mod Podge dries to a matte finish, which is much easier to paint on top of. So we don't have to worry about any slickness to this. So once your surface has dried, what I did when I painted the Spring Meadow is I painted my surface with the FolkArt matte acrylic in the color aqua, and this is painted directly over the wrinkled gift wrap tissue on there. So you could see what the surface looks like just before I would paint my design on it. So I like the matte because I think it's easier to put this kind of base coat over the matte Mod Podge rather than trying to paint it over a glossy surface. So that's why I use the matte formula. Okay, so once you have your textured background done, let's quickly go over those steps again. We applied Mod Podge to our canvas. We took our wrinkled tissue and placed it into the wet Mod Podge, then took our Mod Podge and brushed another coat on top of it while it's wet. Then we let it dry and base coat it, and then you're ready to paint your design on top of that. And the texture really does add a lot of interest to the painting, and it's work that you don't have to do as the artist. All of this texture in here is the tissue, and I've just taken my brush and made a few little marks there. But it's a great way to add a lot of interest to your painting, and I think it's a fun technique that you should try sometime. So again, you can find the video lessons for the winter landscape and the spring meadow on the Plaid Crafts YouTube channel. Look for the Let's Paint Studio Lessons series. So Hope this has inspired you to try a little bit of an unusual background, and we look forward to seeing you next week with some other